Good afternoon, and welcome to all the alumni who are joining us for this third Thursday conversation. I'm Janeen Bertsche Johnson. I serve as Alumni Director as well as Director of Campus Ministries and as an Admissions and Advancement Associate. Just a couple of housekeeping details before we get started. If you have a technical concern at any time during the webinar, please send a chat message to the AMBS host. And if you have a comment or question about our theme for the day, we ask that you please use the Q&A feature, which you can find by hovering over the bottom of your screen. Bob Yoder will be watching for those and answering them at the end. Don't forget that our Alumni Ministry and Service Award recognition event is happening Monday, October 30th at 7 p.m. by Zoom. Be sure to register if you'd like to be part of that event honoring Martha Smith Good, Peter Stuckey, and J. Denny Weaver. And the registration link was in this week's email newsletter. Turning now to our conversation. Today we're going to feature AMBS's campaign, Forming Leaders Together. My guests are Paula Killough, Director of the campaign, and Bob Yoder, Director of Development. Bob, tell us why the timing of this third Thursday conversation is so amazing.
Yeah, well, today and the next several days, we're actually celebrating the public launch of the campaign. It also coincides with our AMBS Board of Trustees meetings these next couple of days. And while they are here, Paula has been hard at work at organizing a variety of activities on campus with members of our board, as well as various supporting collaborators of this campaign. So they're coming together for some good strategic conversations and to celebrate the public launch, the public phase of this campaign, of our Forming Leaders Together campaign. These more public activities follows a letter that we sent out to our constituency a couple of weeks ago, announcing this campaign, the public phase of it, and that we're hoping to wrap up by next May, June, something like that. So this whole next year of the public phase follows the work that we've been doing the last 2 years, which we called the silent phase or the quiet phase, where our goal in that was to reach about 80% of our total goal by this past June 30th. And thanks be to God, we arrived at our goal during that silent phase. And so now we're really going with some good momentum here into the public phase of the campaign.
Paula, every campaign has a backstory. Tell us how this campaign came to be.
Well, in the middle of 2019, when our new president, David Beauchart, was coming here, he really conceived of this campaign as something that would help to create financial stability here for AMBS. And that original conception was that it would be a campaign to boost our investments, our endowments, because we receive a considerable amount of interest income from our endowment investments every year that help to support our annual fund and the running of the seminary. So we put together what we thought was a very powerful message of investing long-term in AMBS. But when that was tested with leaders and donors across Canada and the US, they had a very lukewarm reception for us on those concepts. And we basically went back to the drawing board. And I will tell you, thanks be to God that we did, because the shift was to fund programs, some existing programs that would be losing grant funding, but also new programs that would serve the church in ways that honestly AMBS has never been able to do. And because of that change and investing in people and programs rather than buildings and endowments, we've reached that 83% that Bob spoke about when he responded to your first question.
So let's hear about some of the initiatives this campaign is funding. Paula, can you tell us about the programs AMBS has going on in North America that will be funded by the Forming Leaders Together campaign?
Well, I'll tell you briefly about two, which are both brand new programs. In early 2021, AMBS did research across the US and Canada with denominational conference and pastoral leaders, as well as donors, asking them what is the most important thing that AMBS can do to serve the church today and into the future. And almost universally, their response was, you all do an excellent job of creating pastors who are theologically trained, can preach and teach, have great reputations. But coming out of the pandemic, we also need pastors who are resilient, who are grounded, who can lead through incredible change. And we need courses in those practical kinds of things that are going to answer those needs. And so out of that, the first thing that started last spring, and Janeen, I know you're part of the cohort of the brand new Anabaptist Doctor of Ministry and Leadership. The new cohort will be starting again this coming January, so we'll then have two cohorts going. It's a competency-based doctorate, so it's for people who are excelling in their current roles and want to strengthen that with competency-based education. They're surrounded by a group of leaders and supporters, and so far, I've heard great things from you all who are in the program. The second is our practical leadership training program, which offers things to really provide tools for leadership, both in congregations, but across the Anabaptist spectrum of other types of roles. That began in the fall, and 10 courses or modules were offered this fall, and I know they're already planning new ones for the spring.
And this will also help continue some of the really valuable programs that AMBS has been doing for new pastors and pastors facing difficult decision-making times in their ministry. Do you want to add anything about that?
Well, those are some of the ongoing programs that have been funded by the Thriving in Ministry grant from Lilly. Lilly holds us in such high esteem that they have provided countless millions of dollars for new initiatives that AMBS has undertaken. And so the two circles, Thriving in Ministry and the second cohort for new pastors who are just beginning, because research shows that if they can be supported, that pastors will not find themselves at sort of that identity crisis that many reach at the end of 5 years. And then long-term pastors who have survived the pandemic, but really want to refresh their skills and get new energy to continue serving in congregations for decades to come.
Thank you. And Bob, tell us about the global programs that are being funded.
Yeah. So again, with this campaign, as Paula mentioned, it's helping to fund people and programs, not bricks and mortar. So the programs I'm about to share, the campaign is helping to fund the operations to help let these things happen and be about. There's a lot going on, and we don't know where it'll all go, but there are three kinds of programs, or three kinds of opportunities that I just want to share about. One has to do with our online degree, our fully online degree, a Master of Arts in Theology and Global Anabaptism. That came about several years ago with conversations with global leaders, as well as specifically with leaders in the Mennonite church in Ethiopia. Out of that, we have this degree that can be done anywhere in the world. But with Ethiopia and South Korea, we tweaked that degree a bit to make it a little bit more hybridish. So yes, there are both online components with the cohorts that are going on in Ethiopia and with the group of students in South Korea, but we also send professors to these places to have that face-to-face interaction. That allows AMBS and our professors to see firsthand these people, definitely, but then also what is God up to in those places, and to hear the stories. And that comes back to AMBS and helps us evolve as a Anabaptist global learning center. So that would be one area, is delivering degrees into some countries where people can stay there in their home country. Another area that I would say would be more like short-term lectureships or one-offs or kind of courses. So, for example, just recently, our president, David Buschert, along with two folks from Mennonite Mission Network, just returned from India, where they worked with about a half a dozen different Anabaptist Mennonite groups around the topic of leadership and leadership for the future. So that would be one example of going there, but that was built on a previous opportunity and an invite by the Mennonite Brethren group in India to have Jamie Pitts, our professor of Mennonite theology and history, give a 3-day Zoom-based lectureship on modes of Anabaptist baptisms. That was some things they were discussing. So that would be an example of India, where there's been a couple of interactions. Another example would be Indonesia. So AMBS and Mennonite Mission Network for the last 2 years have helped to co-sponsor an adjunct professor from AMBS to go over to a Mennonite seminary in India and to work with the groups there. So just recently, James Crable, who's one of our adjunct professors, core adjunct professors, just returned from Indonesia, teaching 2 different one-week classes in this particular Mennonite seminary. That follows from a year ago, where another core adjunct, Jacqueline Hoover, was invited to speak into that setting and teach for those a bit of time. That went so well last year that they wanted it again this year. But that opportunity with Jacqueline came about from about 8-9 months before, where the 3 different Mennonite groups or 3 different Mennonite synods in Indonesia worked with AMBS to do a 3-day lectureship series on Anabaptism. It was 2 hours a day, each day, and each day had a little different topic. But each webinar, it was Zoom-based, so it was like 7 in the morning over there or 7 in the evening here, or vice versa. I get mixed up on the times. But it was simultaneous, and there was an Indonesian scholar and then an AMBS-related scholar, each presented on those days. And so they had Zoom breakout and discussions. So that would be another example of Indonesia, where there's this growing collaboration in a way that's not delivering a degree, but it's sharing of our resources. And again, we get to learn from those settings. The third example I would say is our Journey program. The Journey program started with AMBS and Central District Conference and Indiana-Michigan Mennonite Conference about 20 years ago, and it was based primarily here in the Midwest to work with bivocational pastoral leaders and other church leaders and lay leaders to go through this, what became a 3-year certificate program. Well, 20 years later, that program has evolved. There are other Mennonite conferences involved in it in the region, but it also has an international component in a couple of different ways. One, it is now a bit more Zoom-based in some ways, and so people from other countries, if they speak English, are able to Zoom in during some of our regular sessions. But at the same time, David Miller, who's one of our teaching associates in the Church Leadership Center, has delivered Journey in a couple of different ways in different countries. So before the COVID pandemic shut world travel down, he was working with a group of Hmong leaders in Southeast Asia, going through the Journey curriculum. And it took a couple of years to work through it. Then it became Zoom-based when COVID restricted international travel that David had previously gone to. That group wrapped up, and he is now again working with another group in Southeast Asia to be delivering Journey. But another way of delivering Journey was this past December, he was invited to Kenya by Mennonite leaders there, where David taught the curriculum to a certain group of Mennonite leaders so that they could then teach Journey in their country. So David taught the Journey curriculum, and then we turned the curriculum over to them, and now they are able to utilize it in their country. So those would be 3 different ways, but I would say that an important part of everything that we're doing globally is that it's all under the umbrella of Mennonite World Conference. They are key collaborators with us. Several years ago, they had invited AMBS to sign a formal collaborative agreement with each other about all of these things that are going on. So MWC, Mennonite World Conference, plays a very important role. We are kind of a seat at the table, so we have a better understanding of what's going on globally with the needs and the issues that are rising. But also, when people reach out to us, Mennonite World Conference helps to play a vetting role. Are these the right people we should be talking to? We don't want to undermine whoever the real leaders are, or the key leaders are in whatever context. We don't necessarily have all these relationships. So Mennonite World Conference plays a very important part for us in this global work that we're doing.
Could I
Thanks.
add?
Paula, I know you're really excited about these collaborations. Would you like to say some more about that?
I would. First of all, one of the important things that is happening in most of these contexts are that we are not just going there to teach, but we are going there to train leaders, to be able to train more leaders, and to then on their own be able to take up these programs and sustain them long term. It's a very different model, and is one that is being deeply appreciated across the world, really. I had to make a list because, and I will say these are the people we are currently collaborating with more to come, because more and more folks around the world are hoping that we'll be able to do things with them. As Bob said, Mennonite World Conference, Mennonite Church Canada, Mennonite Church USA, Mennonite Mission Network, Mennonite Education Agency, the Anabaptist denominations of Ethiopia, South Korea, Kenya, Indonesia, India, Southeast Asia, the Nehemiah Institute of South Korea, Meseretos Christos Seminary of Ethiopia. Those are just the current list.
And along with that, would say that whenever we go somewhere, it's been by invitation. It's not that AMBS is out peddling our goods, so to speak. We're just responding to opportunities and invitations, and we do what we can. And so this campaign, a big portion of this campaign is helping to fund these possibilities to happen and these global connections with one another.
And the reason we are being invited is because Mennonite World Conference has recognized that the #1 most critical issue in the global church is strengthening Anabaptist theology and identity. And they have asked AMBS to be their collaborating partner to do that.
This is so exciting. And I also know that it changes AMBS when our leaders, our faculty members come back. I talked to James Crable just after he got back from Indonesia, and just the marvelous experiences and learning that happens both directions. And the same thing happened when several of our faculty members were in Ethiopia this summer. So this is just really exciting for us as well. Paula, does the collaboration extend to the fundraising itself?
Yes, it is going to. And it is something new for all of us. None of us organizations have ever really even conceived of joint fundraising before. So we're entering into this with open hands and open hearts, so to speak, as we figure it out together. By the end of October, you will be seeing digital ads that will be the first indicator of this joint fundraising with Mennonite World Conference. And so some of the places and people will be featured in these digital ads that will ask you to contribute to both organizations who are funding this work globally. The second organization will be Mennonite Church Canada, and again, featuring the work that we are doing in partnership with them. I would be very remiss if I did not name Mennonite Mission Network, who has been completely funding two of our people who are part of this work, Joe Sawatsky and Henoch McConan. And that has been going, I believe this is now into the third financial year that they are providing that support. So the collaboration is with people and funding and programs, and is very exciting. We are about to launch the Spanish language master's degree, which we will be doing in partnership with Mennonite Education Agency's Hispanic Ministries. And that too will be jointly funded from fundraising that MEA and Hispanic Ministries will primarily be doing. Yes, I have said that some of the things that are happening, maybe the broadest collaborations in the Anabaptist world since responding to the famine in 1920. So
that's wonderful. And Bob, what happens to AMBS's ongoing financial needs during a campaign?
Yeah, so this particular campaign is what we call a comprehensive campaign. So our annual fund, our Leadership Education Fund, is an important part of how AMBS is able to do all that we do. That needs to continue to be strong and healthy. And so this particular campaign is a comprehensive campaign, meaning that people can continue to give to the Leadership Education Fund. They can also give to some of these initiatives that we've talked about. And some people just say, AMBS, we trust you. We're giving dollars and wherever is most needed. So if you need some dollars in the annual fund, or if you need it in the global or in the local leadership, they trust it that way. So that's the nature of how this comprehensive campaign works. Again, overall, the goal is $12 million. $5 million is to help work with the Leadership Education Fund, our annual fund, for 3 years. And we are now in fiscal year number 3. July 1 to June 30 is our fiscal year. So we're in the third year of that. And then the other $7 million is intended to help fund everything that Paul and I've just said on the global front and here in North America for the next 10 years of operations. So that will help AMBS stay strong and healthy with these programs in mind for the next 10 years. And so it's not like in 2 or 3 years we have to start really scratching our heads and praying really hard about, will money come in to help fund these? No, we're getting them funded for the next 10 years.
Thanks. And Bob, what's been the reaction of the donors you've worked with as you describe the campaign to them?
Yeah, actually, generally one of very good excitement. People really appreciate the connections that are all going on in Forming Leaders Together campaign. They appreciate the collaborations among all the different organizations that Paula listed. That's an exciting aspect. What the campaign is doing and what it's funding is very exciting, kind of these connections, both and deepening pastors and church leaders and in practical ways, and in also very good, helpful theological ways that lean into our Anabaptist identity. I just hear a lot of excitement and appreciation for all of these efforts and endeavors.
And Paula, have there been any particular moments when you sensed God guiding this process?
The one that immediately comes to mind is very early in the campaign. We extended our planning phase because of the pandemic. So in early 2021 is when we were starting to approach major donors that we thought might be interested in the campaign. And so David Beauchard and I, our president, went to visit a couple. And for me, it was the very first time I was presenting the campaign live to human beings. So I was a little nervous. David shared really from his heart about this work. And then it was my role to present to them a proposal for what we were hoping they might be able to do to financially support the campaign. And I had thought and prayed about that quite a bit, but I was still nervous that I was asking for too much. But I made the proposal and we presented it to them, and they ended the conversation fairly quickly after that. So David and I left with a bit of nervousness, not really knowing what was going to happen. And then we didn't hear anything for about a week. And as we talked, it was like, oh, we've really overstepped. We've asked for too much. And then in the middle of a meeting, David received a text, which was, and these folks are not highly technical folks, we didn't think, but he received a text with a screenshot of the commitment sheet that we had left with them. And it was for three times what we asked for. Sorry. It's amazing. And because of that huge influx of money, which they provided to us almost immediately, we were able to get things underway. We were able to start programs right away that might not have been able to start for a year to 18 months. So it was an incredible blessing.
And one that assured you that you could trust God for guiding this process, right?
Right.
Thank you so much. Bob, I'm wondering if you can share what are the ways alumni can participate in this campaign?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just state the one obvious one is alumni are invited to give and contribute to this campaign. So that's kind of an obvious one. For alumni, those of us who are alumni, and all three of us are alumni that are on this screen. It's an opportunity to give back to our alma mater. It's also an opportunity to further the work of the reign of God around the globe. And it's an opportunity to really help AMBS become much more of a global Anabaptist learning center in some ways. And when I say that, I really see a lot of value in being part of a global church, being a part of a group of people that's just bigger than me. There's a lot of learning that can happen in that kind of way. And I think my context primarily is in the United States. I live in Indiana. I think here in the US, and I don't want to speak for our Canadian brothers and sisters, but, we can afford some renewal in our country. And at times, it gets kind of bleak and dismal at times. It feels that way, whether we're looking at national politics or we look at our own church politics. This global connection is invigorating, and it helps me with perspective of some things. And it also helps me see another place what God is up to. And it makes me look a little harder here in my own neighborhood and corner, what God is up to and the things that I would have obviously missed, right? So it's helping that way. So I would invite us alumni to take an opportunity to support this ministry and this effort and this campaign. And who knows where it leads to 50 years from now, once we're all off and gone, what the next AMBS people will be talking about and looking back at. Another way for alumni to be involved is get involved in some of these programs and new opportunities that are going on. We really want to see you all as alumni succeed in your settings, whether you're pastors or other service leaders or ministry leaders. We want to see you succeed. And we have programs and opportunities that we are trying to do to help you succeed in the long-term vitality aspect of your settings. So that's another thing. Take advantage of the opportunities that are here in front of you. The other thing that I would say is, pray. That's maybe another obvious. Pray. And a fourth way is, who do you know that you think would resonate with this campaign and what we're doing, that you think would want to contribute to this campaign? So that would be another fourth important way for alumni is to be involved, is pass names along to us or shoulder tap people. We have information up on our website and other places too, where you can help connect them or connect them to us. But pass along names and shoulder tap people would be, I would say, a fourth important way. So donate, participate in the programs, pray, shoulder tap.
Thanks. And Paula, tonight there's going to be a big celebration. What all is happening?
Well, we are celebrating the public launch, which is the first time that we are talking to the public about our campaign. We're hoping to have lots of people come from the surrounding areas, pastors, donors, congregation members, church leaders, lots and lots of folks will be here, along with some of our international leaders who will be here to celebrate with us in this work. And along with that, you will have the opportunity to hear from Professor Jamie Pitts in his public lecture, Mysteries of Reconciliation, Culture, Violence, Politics, which comes out of his recent sabbatical. And this public lecture is in honor of his promotion to full professor. And this is the first time in 10 years that someone has been promoted to full professor here at AMBS. And not because people aren't qualified, but because we have such a young faculty. So it's a wonderful celebration. And then there's going to be food afterwards as well. But if you can't come, you can still see the celebration online. And you just have to enter the following link into your browser, ambs.edu/live. ambs.edu/live. And you will be here and be able to experience the celebration with us.
Thank you so much. Wow, this just is so exciting. I'm wondering if there's anything else that I haven't asked you that you want to make sure people know about regarding the campaign before we shift to questions that our alumni have.
I think what I would just say and remind us, I mean, AMBS, our mission and purpose is to serve the church in an Anabaptist context in ways. That's what we're leaning into. That's really what this campaign is about. It's responding to needs that we're hearing from around the globe and then talking with people about what those needs are. So it's not just like our own ideas. There's a lot of collaboration, but our mission and purpose is to serve the church. And that's really the heart of what this campaign is, which really excites me as a pastor, at least as a person with a pastoral identity. I really love that we're about all of this.
Well, thanks to both of you, Paula and Bob, for sharing about this campaign. And now we're going to shift into questions that those of you joining us for Third Thursdays might have. Bob is going to receive any comments and answer your questions, and you can share those either through the Q&A feature or the chat. Again, thank you so much for sharing today.
Thank you.